Mike, check. Justin Hunt, it's all happening. Thank you to everybody rocking with the channel. Thank you to everybody subscribed to the channel, who shared a video, shared a link. It's priceless. Big thank you to everyone who's donated. If you'd like to donate, you can hit the link in the description, or you hit the Cash App that's right up there. And big thank you to all my newest members. I always have such a good time doing this. Ali Almadi, Daisy, Erica N, Off, Chandra D. Michelli, the Leo M. Ricci? Hope I got that right. 9-second applause. Thank you. Big stories today, but first, thank you to everybody who's been showing so much love and support to this channel. I've been in larger projects mode most of the week. I just released a profile piece on 3D Nati. One of the most fantastic MCs you'll ever hear. She's from New Orleans, and she did something really cool. She built a mobile home studio with her bare hands. So she sold all her house. She sold most of her possessions, I think, and turned a pizza van into a mobile recording studio. And so she drives around the country writing for other artists, going to different sessions, and we talk about life through that lens, and what it means to her to have that sort of independence, that DIY lifestyle, and also what it feels like to be a woman MC and some of the challenges she's experienced throughout her career. So it's really great. Take a look at it. It's available for members now, currently. And then I had a conversation with Torre, Anthony Fantano, and William Ketchums, and we talked about the state of the album review and whether the album review is relevant in 2025. So that full will be up for members today, and then I'll drop some clips on the channel for everyone else. But thank you all so much for the support. Now, first story of the day. Now, this is a media story more than it's a hip hop story. Obviously, there's some hip hop crossover just in the nature of who we're talking about here. But it's a major sports story. And Stephen A. Smith and LeBron James have been going at it. They have been going at it. Right. And so let's take a look at how we got here. It's a bit convoluted, but there's some other things at play here that I find really interesting. So a few weeks ago, maybe 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, LeBron James, during a Lakers home game, confronted Stephen A. Smith over Stephen A. Smith's coverage of Bronny James. Now, LeBron James, arguably the second greatest player of all time, right? And also the first player ever to have a son playing in the NBA while he's still in the NBA. You know, I think LeBron James has been able to stack all the great longevity awards in very impressive fashion. But it screams of nepotism. Bronny James is a really good player, but I don't think most people look at Bronny James and say, hey, he deserves to be on the Lakers or he deserves to be in the NBA like right now. I don't think people look at Bronny like that, right? Most people look at this and say, oh, well, his dad's LeBron. If his dad wasn't LeBron, the Lakers wouldn't have drafted him and he wouldn't be playing in the NBA. Now, to be fair, he's on the NBA, on the Lakers sometimes, and a lot of times he'll play on the South Bay Lakers G League team, South Bay something, I can't think of what they are. And so, but that's been such a lightning rod in sports media all year, truthfully. But from a macro standpoint, I don't remember ever seeing a second round draft pick get this much attention, especially a second round draft pick who's not killing it in the league. It's not like Jokic. I think Jokic was a second round draft pick, if I'm not mistaken. It's not like someone who's overachieving. I mean, Bronny James continues to be a story solely because of who his father is. And a lot of people are very critical of him. And Stephen A. Smith is one of those people. Now, Stephen A.'s commentary a lot of times is focused on Bronny not being ready, and also really questions, I don't want to say overall, but at different points in time, he's questioned LeBron's father, his ability to father his child for putting Bronny in this situation. And so there was tension there. And during the game, LeBron confronted Stephen A. Smith. Here's what it looked like. He is not happy. Let's take a look again. That's crazy. I mean, I can't be mad at Bron at the same time, I can be mad at Bron, right? Stephen A's coverage has gone a little too far, but his son is in the NBA. Regardless of the fact that he's a father and he's going to protect his son is also a professional in a cutthroat league, in a cutthroat situation. But look at LeBron's face right here. He is not happy. During the game, right? So after this, Stephen A went, basically, he's been on a media blitz. You know, if you look at the date on this says March 7th, 2025. This next clip is March 11th, this is a week later. But Stephen A's talked about this on his show. Obviously, he's now part of the story. I think there's a responsibility there to talk about this since he is part of the story. Two, he's gone on a number of different platforms talking about this. Now, Stephen A has been making a different media pivot simultaneously, right? His own podcast, his YouTube show, he's investing in that, gaining a lot of steam. He's also been on right-wing platforms quite a bit. He seems to have a great relationship with Sean Hannity. He's on Fox News regularly. He sat down with Ben Shapiro. Ben Shapiro? He had Candace Owens on his show, I think. So he's been tipping his toe into political waters in a way that is separate from whatever commentary he would say on ESPN throughout the course of his career, right? And now he is spending a lot of time on right-leaning platforms. Right, so I say that to say the broader Stephen A. Smith media empire, media push has now extended into politics quite a bit, extended into right-wing politics quite a bit, but also extended into just his own platform, right? And so he just got a $100 million deal with ESPN, and he's talking more than ever. And so following this incident, he went on a bit of a media blitz, talking to all kinds of people about this. And here's a clip from him on Gil's Arenas. So here's what they said on Gil's Arenas show.
What do you make of LeBron confronting you in the aftermath of that situation?
I thought it was weak. I thought it was some bullshit. But in the moment, I knew that I was listening to a father. Here's what happened.
He called it weak and he called it BS. 1 second applause. He's saying it with his chest.
I'm represented by William Morris Endeavor. The founder of William Morris Endeavor, Ari Emanuel, had courtside seats right next to the Lakers bench. He had Larry David with him, star of Curb Your Enthusiasm. I'm sitting with them. I get there in the first quarter. I'm sitting courtside, and I stand up, and then I got my head turned. And then I turned back around, and a lot of people thought this was the end of the game or something like that. This was in the third quarter. Apparently, LeBron had walked out of the timeout, and I turned around, and he's right here in my face. He said, yo, you got to stop talking shit about my son. You got to stop fucking with my son. That's my son. That's my son. And I was like, what? He said, nah, fuck that. I said, yo, let's talk later. He's like, fuck that. Nah, fuck that. You got to stop fucking with my son. And I said, all right, though. And he walked off. So I remember during a timeout in the first quarter, seeing Bronny. And Bronny looked over at me, and he had this sad look on his face. And I'm imagining Pop saw that shit and hit him. And he couldn't hold it, and he rolled up on me.
Now, I don't know how to take that part. I looked over at Bronny in the first quarter, and he had a sad look on his face. He had a sad look on his face. I don't know what he means by that. Is he saying that Bronny looked at him and was sad or hurt by Stephen A's coverage? Is that what he's implying here? There's a lot of tentacles. This has been going on for weeks. As you can see, we're not going to cover all of them here. But that moment right there really stood out to me. Let me know what you think about the implications of that. What do he mean? What's he saying there?
And so when I went on the air the next morning, first things first, believe it or not, I know this is shocking for people to believe, but I didn't have any intentions on talking about it until I woke up that morning and saw that the shit had gone viral.
I don't believe that either. It was definitely going viral. Okay, they're in the crypto.com arena, away from all the cameras that are recording the game. Everyone has a camera on their phone. There were tens of thousands of cameras in there. He knew it was going to go viral.
Once the shit had gone viral, the bosses at ESPN, now you got to talk about it. This is you and him. You got to talk about it. I said, fine. So I go on the air and I said, the first thing that I'm going to do is establish that this was a father talking to me, not a player. And that was what threw me off. And I was glad, even though I thought that he misrepresented the argument, I was glad he did. Because you see, what he was really talking about, which was confirmed with his conversation with Richard Jefferson, is that I was talking about him as a father. And so what happens is that had he said that to me, then I wouldn't have been thrown off. I'd have came right back at him. Yes, I was. I was talking about you. You did this shit.
Yes, I was. I was talking about you as a father. This is what I mean. Stephen A is taking a sports story and adding implications, covering it from the standpoint of LeBron's a bad father for doing this. Right. That'll make you want to run up on somebody sitting sideline too. We'll take a pause.
Which I'll get to in a second. But because he didn't do that, I said, fine, you let it go. Mind you, I just agreed to my contract. Of course, that day was when it was announced. It's all over, everywhere.
We talked about it.
Right? Yeah. It's a nationally televised game. The cameras are rolling. And I'm like, if I do anything, this is going to be a scene. Now, we can sit up here in front all we want to and act like we don't work for somebody. Damn it, I work for Walt Disney. And if I had gotten into some shit with him at courtside right there at that moment, no matter how right I would have been, it would have been wrong.
That's what Will Smith looked like at the Oscars after the slap. Listen to his album today, does not slap. One second pause with Will Smith though.
And I was like, I'm not gonna do this. But once I saw the tape of him talking to Richard Jefferson Saturday night in Boston, that was when I got really pissed because that was confirmation.
Right, so this is Stephen A's position. At least this was his position on March 11th. Now, the story got new legs this week because LeBron went on to perhaps Stephen A's biggest rival on ESPN, Pat McAfee. He went on the Pat McAfee show. And LeBron has some things to say in return, right? But one of the things that also went viral this week was Stephen A saying that he would have fought LeBron if things had got physical, right? So there's tentacles all over this story that are just kind of crazy. Just kind of crazy. But here's what LeBron said on Pat McAfee.
Yep.
Which leads obviously to you and Stephen A. Hey, legit, that feels like a moment that had been brewing for a long time.
He's like on a Taylor Swift tour run right now.
Oh yeah, yeah, we're watching it.
Yep.
We're all seeing it.
Oh yeah,
you're seeing it as well. It's
He literally, it started off with
he's on a Taylor Swift tour run. 1 second applause.
I didn't want to address it.
Yeah, sure.
I didn't want to address it. I wasn't going to address it. But since the video came out, I feel the need to address it.
Yeah, well, Farrell, you would be not to talk about it.
Are you kidding me? If there's one person that couldn't wait to the video to drop so you can address it, it's your ass. Like seriously, it's and like another, he completely like missed the whole point. The whole point. Never would I ever not allow people to talk about the sport, criticize players about what they do on the court. That is your job to criticize or to, be in a position where, okay, if a guy's not performing, that is all part of the game. That's all part of the game. But when you take it and you get personal with it, it's my job to not only protect my damn household, but protect the players.
Protect my household and protect the players, right? Protect the players. Now, LeBron's been in some things. He had Laura Ingraham told him to shut up and dribble. He called President Trump a bum. He was a leader during the uprisings of 2020. And so he is one to step to the forefront when it comes to bigger issues or when it comes to things that perhaps reach outside of just the lens of basketball, right? And so he frames it here as if he believes that's his job. Now, is he sticking up or confronting Stephen A because Stephen A's been critical of a whole bunch of other players? I don't think that's what he's doing. I think he's reaching out because Stephen A confronted or has been very critical of a certain player, a certain one that's in his household, which he mentions here. This is a convoluted, complicated story and a representative of a place we've never been in NBA history. We have never been in a place where an active player at all, let alone arguably the second best player of all time, has a son who's currently in the league and heavily criticized. We've never been here before, right? And so, but to say he's sticking up for this for the other players, I'm not sure he would have walked up to him at sideline, for Kobe White. You know what I'm saying? I don't think that's going to happen.
And I think a lot of the media, including him, and I know he's gonna be happy as hell. He's gonna be smiling from ear to ear when he hears me talking about it again. Oh my God, he's gonna get home and grab some ice cream out of the fucking freezer and sit in his chair in his tidy whities on the couch.
I hope at some point you two get.
And his tidy whities on the couch. I mean, it's wild to hear LeBron talk about Stephen A. this way. When Skip's been on LeBron's bumper his whole career. So where's Skip Bayless? It's like, it's my turn. It's my turn. However that meme goes. 1 second applause. All right, so this is what LeBron said on Pat McAfee this week. Now, Stephen A. was not happy. Stephen A. was not happy. And he goes on a 15-minute diatribe. All right, we're going to look at this on
I got it.
We're going to look at this on 1.5, but this is what he had to say. And this turns into a whole nother issue too. So let's check this out.
Number one, congratulations to Pat McAfee. First of all, anybody would have gotten that interview. I take no issue with the job that Pat McAfee did. Having LeBron James on the show, anybody would have done that. The questions that he asked was more than appropriate. Outstanding job by him and his team, no doubt about that. Let's get to LeBron James. So LeBron James decides, who really, outside of his crew, doesn't really have any friends in the media. Suddenly,
outside of his crew, he doesn't have any friends in the media. The shade is an avalanche in this clip.
He's going to be in Indianapolis, drive into the country and go and do a show that comes on immediately after first take. Clearly, they were looking at it and they used the Steve Nash, the upcoming Mind Your Game podcast with Steve Nash to disguise what his real agenda was, which was to address me. Because he continues to lie to the world.
Disguise what his real agenda was, which was to address me. This sounds like what I hear when I turn on Manosphere podcasts and battle between left-wing and right-wing news organizations. His real agenda is
world about what I said and who I was pointing the finger at. To regurgitate an obvious point, when I talked about Bronny James early in the season and I highlighted the fact that at that particular moment in time, he simply was not ready, I was calling out LeBron James. LeBron James never addresses that with anybody. For some reason, no one ever asked him about that. Wasn't it you who said that Bronny James was better than some players in the NBA right now before he was even drafted?
LeBron did say that.
Wasn't it you who said, if you want me, draft my son because you wanted to play with your son for 1 year? Wasn't it you who...
LeBron said that too. LeBron did say that too.
Literally circumvented meritocracy within the National Basketball Association and got the entire media world in the NBA and, of course, the Lakers organization.
Circumvented meritocracy I have a problem with. Okay, there's a lot of people in the league that are there because of who their agent also represents. There's a lot of people in the league just because of, which college program they went to or who, there's a lot of relationships and politics that goes into the NBA overall. We haven't seen nepotism like this in the same way, I don't think. Definitely not between two active players. But yeah, the meritocracy. There's a lot of people who got contracts in the NBA that probably shouldn't be there.
To buy in on that, LeBron James did all of that. That is the person I was talking about as a father. Not the father in Brentwood or Bel Air or wherever else he has homes. I'm talking about the father that shows up at Crypto.com arena. Last time I checked, Bronny James is a professional basketball player. LeBron James went on national television yesterday and lied. He said that I have no problem with you talking about the game. What did I say about Bronny James other than at the time he wasn't ready? That was it. I said nothing else.
Well, you just said you were talking about him as a father. Him as a father. Right. And I understand this is an uncharted territory. But as soon as you said, like you just said on Gil's Arenas, that I was talking about him as a father. He's saying it again here. That's a different territory.
So if that's the issue, and I pointed to LeBron James and the fact that you've circumvented a meritocracy just to get your wish at the expense of the credibility of the league in a lot of people's eyes, that's talking about you. That's not talking about your son. And then he goes about the business of taking it a step further. First of all, let's understand something to the viewing public in America and beyond. This was planned. Rich Paul was on Pat McAfee's show about 10 days earlier, whatever. Rich Paul, for everybody that knows, is the man, the founder of Clutch Sports. He's a strategic thinker. He didn't go there by accident. You're there talking with Pat McAfee, and the next thing you know, within 2 weeks, after obviously a negotiation took place, LeBron James was on it. We know a negotiation took place because we understand that since LeBron had uninterrupted, or whatever the hell it was called, he's been about control. He's been about making sure that things are his way. Us, as the media members, know it because of how his behavior has changed since he's had his own media outlet in terms of how he treats the media. But we won't focus on that too much this particular moment.
I don't see anything wrong with that. I think everyone who has their own media outlet has a different relationship with the media. It's the modern era. That's where we are now. Stephen A has an evolving reputation, relationship with the media now, as he's built his own independent Stephen A. Smith show and his podcast and the network he has there. He is actually actively on right-wing podcasts and news publications or news outlets that 10 years ago he was loudly in disagreement with. Things evolve. And Stephen A is an example of that too.
The aftermath of that interview, what does he do? He puts out some page about me, boxing and all of this other stuff from a decade ago with 2 torn rotator cuffs. Fine, no problem. It's very, very...
That's what he did. He put out a video clip of that famous meme of Stephen A boxing. Because Stephen A said that he would have fought LeBron James. He said he would have fought LeBron James. That was taken out of context. He basically was saying he would have fought back and he probably would have lost. But LeBron gets to troll too. LeBron gets to troll here too.
Be embarrassing video, I'll be the first to say and all that stuff, even though I like it to be left up there. Because if people think I want to throw hands like that, that's how I throw hands, knock yourself out. I'm good with it. I know that the man I am today is not the man that I was a decade ago, physically or beyond. I can tell you that. So we get that out the way. Why do I bring that up? Because that's how petty you've become. You're LeBron James, you that butthurt over the things that I'm saying, that you would post that video. When has LeBron James ever done something like that? But suddenly you're doing that as it pertains to me. This man is in his feelings. I wonder why. Could it be because I don't believe you're the GOAT? Because I'll never believe you're the GOAT? Because I have you number 2 at all times? Do I have to have ESPN and First Take put up the ticker tape right now and say, yo, did you put that up there, please? Great father, great husband, great philanthropist, great businessman, great director, great producer, great host, great basketball player, great leader. I mean, my God, I have done everything but put diapers and a bib on this brother. But
he's talking on both sides of that conversation, though. Great father, except for this Bronny thing. We just heard him on Gil's Arenas. He just opened up with this here. He talks about Bronny. He uses his opinions on Bronny to say that LeBron as a father did this. Now, whether that is or not, whether that is the case or otherwise, it's clearly the case, so there is no otherwise. Those two things, to that father, there isn't this gap between them that Stephen A keeps trying to talk about.
But it ain't enough, because one thing matters to him and one thing only, and that's him being recognized as the greatest of all times. Well, you're not, in my book. That belongs to Michael Jordan. Where would I get that from? Let's count the ways.
Michael Jordan is the greatest of all time. 1 second applause.
So we have a situation where we're looking at LeBron James breaking all these records, and we're conveniently forgetting that he's in his 22nd year. But Jordan did all of this pretty much in his first 13, although he had 15 years. He only came back for the final 2 years because he wanted to be an owner. And part of the stipulation with Abe Pollin, then the owner of the Washington franchise, was that he be a part of the team and play and generate revenue and interest, etc., so he could ultimately become an owner. That's why Michael Jordan played. It was really his first 13 years. Yet still in all, here we are in the year 2025, decades after Michael Jordan has retired, while LeBron James is still playing. And LeBron James is still 2 titles shy of Michael Jordan. Michael Jordan is 6. LeBron James has 4. He does have as many finals losses as Michael Jordan has wins. He has 6 finals losses. He has 4 championships. Let me continue. Michael Jordan, NBA Finals MVP, 6, the most all time. LeBron James, 4, despite having played a minimum of 7 more seasons than Michael Jordan. Michael Jordan, regular season MVP, 5, tied for second all time with Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. LeBron James, 4. Once again, he comes up short to Michael Jordan. All NBA first team, 10 of 15 seasons, 67% for Michael Jordan, 59%, 13 of 22 for LeBron James over the course of 22 years. Defensive Player of the Year, Michael Jordan captured that once. That has never been an honor bestowed upon LeBron James. All NBA Defensive First Team, 9, tied for most all time to LeBron James, 5. He's still 4 short despite having a minimum of 7 more seasons. Scoring titles, 10-1. LeBron James does have an assist title. Michael Jordan never did that.
I mean, it is a pretty stark difference, a wide gulf between Jordan and LeBron, in my opinion. And I think Stephen A laid it out pretty well there. Let me know in the comment section who you have ranked higher, LeBron or Jordan.
Michael Jordan led the league in steals on 3 occasions. He's had 9 NBA record, 9 game-winning buzzer beaters. LeBron, as of last night, has 8. So still in your 22nd season, you haven't caught up to Michael Jordan, okay? What I'm saying to you is that these are basketball things that I'm mentioning. Who got personal? LeBron. He's lying when he says that I attacked his son. He's
lying. That's going to come back later.
came up to me courtside at the Lakers-Knicks game. He was lying then. He threw me off guard because he said, you can't be pooping on my son because we over FCC Airways. You can't be doing that. I didn't know what he was talking about, so it threw me off. Had he came up to me and said, what the hell are you doing talking about me as a father? I would say it's because of what you were doing with your son on the basketball court for public consumption. That's fair game. His son plays for the Los Angeles Lakers. I don't wish any harm upon Bronny. I believe in Bronny. I didn't say anything about him until that one time, January 29th. And I never bothered him before or after. I just stated a point in fact. We want to forget that. We want to forget that other people were pointing to his legitimacy or lack thereof as a McDonald's All-American. We want to point to LeBron James, and we don't want to bring up the fact that he was the one that said on the record, my son is better than some NBA players right now. You want me, draft my son. We want to conveniently forget that. I'm not doing that. I cover this sport. This is what I do. And if LeBron James wants to see me continue to cover the sport, or he wants to have a problem with me continuously cover the sport, I suggest that he be happy with the things that I haven't brought up. I never brought up really and never really discussed why you were not at Kobe Bryant's memorial service.
This is coming back too. Now, before we go through this, he just said that LeBron wasn't at Kobe's memorial, right? That's coming back. But when I look at that previous part right there, that to me is an example of a place we've never been, a place we have never been. Is it really possible to separate Bronny and LeBron as NBA players without looking at LeBron as being Bronny's father? He has admitted here that he said he's talking about him as a father. Earlier he said, I said he's a great father. Now he's critical of him as a father. Now that is perhaps on the table because Bronny is LeBron's son, and LeBron is the reason Bronny's in the NBA right now, when it comes to most people. Whether he could have gotten there on his own, perhaps. I mean, Bronny has had some good games. But can you even really separate fatherhood, LeBron as a father, as it pertains to Bronny, when criticizing Bronny? Let me know in the comment section if you think that's the case. And if you rock with this content, hit a like, share a video, subscribe to the channel. It's all happening. 1 second applause.
This is what I do. And if LeBron James wants to see me continue to cover the sport, or he wants to have a problem with me continuously cover the sport, I suggest that he be happy with the things that I haven't brought up. I never brought up really and never really discussed why you were not at Kobe Bryant's memorial service. I never really brought up or discussed why you did not attend Dwayne Wade's Hall of Fame induction when that man was directly responsible for you capturing a championship for the first time in your career. I brought up none of that. I didn't bring up the fact that even though when people had asked, you had alluded to what had happened tragically to your son, and thank God he's okay with his heart condition. I didn't bring up the fact that even though you couldn't go to the Hall of Fame induction of Dwayne Wade weeks earlier, you were out of the country on business. I didn't bring that up. That's your personal business, okay? But the fact is you wasn't at the Hall of Fame induction of a brother that's going to drastically assist to you being a Hall of Famer because he helped you become the champion that you are, and he was a big brother to you. I brought up none of these things. But
bringing him up now, though. You're definitely bringing him up now. Definitely bringing him up now.
But LeBron James, at the end of the day, wants to come at me, and he's walking around pouting. Why would he be pouting? The man is 22. He is universally recognized as the Mount Rushmore of basketball. He is unquestionably one of the greatest players to have ever played basketball. I have him top 2. Stab me in the chest. Crucify me. Throw me in jail. Of the thousands upon thousands of players who have played in NBA history, I have this man number 2 overall in the history of basketball, despite Kareem Abdul-Jabbar being a 19-time All-Star, a 6-time champion, a 6-time league MVP. It was the greatest, the most trusted move, offensive move in NBA history with the skyhook. I still had him ahead of Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. It's not enough. So much so that you go this route. It's very unfortunate that he has done this. It's very unfortunate that he has tried to ostracize me amongst the NBA community and the sports world and beyond, talking about how I talk about, I'm pooping on the players and all of this other stuff. They don't bring up all the time we praise the players. I applaud them when they win. I criticize them when they're messing up in an effort to make sure that you don't do it again. I'm not wishing anybody to fail, but I have to call it how I see it because I have an audience to answer to.
He has an audience to answer to, right? So it goes on for a little longer. I'll put a link in the description if you haven't seen this entire thing. But there's a few points that come up here. Few points that come up here very loud and very clear to me. One, again, we haven't been here before. Can you actually criticize Bronny without it being a referendum on LeBron as a father when LeBron is the reason why Bronny's even in the league right now? I don't really think there's a lot of questions around that. But 2, Stephen A is framing this as if this is just all basketball conversations. We just heard him on the other podcast say, yeah, I was talking about you as a father. I guess as it pertains to basketball, it's murky. It's murky there. And 3, he just aired out, or I guess maybe believed he aired out, that LeBron didn't go to Kobe's funeral. And there was some reason behind it. He said he never shared why LeBron didn't go to Kobe's funeral. He made it a thing. That was fact checked to hell. Okay, that was look at this community note. From the LA Times, among the Lakers-related faces in the audience, Magic Johnson, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Shaquille O'Neal, Phil Jackson, Jerry West, Rick Fox, and LeBron James. So this is how this is an example of Stephen A manipulating this conversation. He's calling out LeBron for manipulating this conversation, saying this about the players, for going on Pat McAfee and being manipulative with the media, since LeBron has his own media outlet, media company. But in this, he's manipulating this as if LeBron wasn't at Kobe's funeral, but according to the LA Times, he was. According to the LA Times, he was. Now, this is, Stephen A ended up posting an apologies and a clarification on that, which I give him credit for. A lot of the people he sits down with these days don't do that very often. So Stephen A. Smith says, my apologies and clarification. I misspoke in hour number 1 of First Take today when I intimated that LeBron did not attend Kobe's memorial. I corrected myself in hour 2 when I acknowledged he was in indeed attendance. My mistake. Should not have even broached that subject. It was not my main point. I retract nothing else that I said. Have a nice day. Well, he said he never talked about out loud the reason why LeBron wasn't there. The reason why, right? So he is manipulating this conversation to make LeBron look like a pretty awful guy. LeBron doesn't support the media anymore. LeBron doesn't support Dwayne Wade. LeBron didn't go to Kobe's funeral, and there's some reason behind it. Well, I think that's more than just misspeaking. There's a misspeak. Sometimes I'll say review and I mean interview. That's misspeaking. He made it seem like he had some other nefarious information. That's deeper than what I read here from this answer after the entire world told him LeBron was actually there. That LeBron was actually there. Now, LeBron and Kevin Love have been trolling. They've been trolling Stephen A. Smith. Here's Stephen A. Smith here.
Clean up that cup more. Raise him up. Yeah, make it more free. Yeah, push.
So that's what LeBron posted, showing Stephen A. Smith. Then he posted this classic Young Dolph meme. Talking about how when Stephen A. said that he would have fought him if this had gone another way. This one here is funny. This is Kevin Love. Dragonfly Jones. 1 second applause if you know who Dragonfly Jones is. So there's a lot going on here. This is the back and forth as it stood, I think, yesterday. People are still talking about this. And generally, people are kind of split. I think there's a lot of people who understand where LeBron's coming from, who think that Stephen A. has been making a media turn most people did not expect him to make. At least we'll say that. And I think there's a lot of people who are very critical of LeBron because LeBron has put himself in the position where his son isn't the things that, truthfully, LeBron did say he was. LeBron said that there's NBA players that Bronny's better than. I mean, I'm not sure which ones we're talking about, but doesn't really look like LeBron or Bronny at this point in time is consistent enough to be a consistent NBA player. You know, this feels to a lot of people like something that LeBron did to make history, something for his brand. First guy to have his son play in the NBA. But this idea that NBA is all meritocracy, that's not true at all. We know that's not true. Agents make a huge difference. Relationships with executives make a huge difference. Relationship with different brands makes a huge difference. I think we're now at the point where I think, you know, broader social media recognition is going to make a difference at some point in time. I think you make arguments with a couple of players that they've gotten shots just because a lot of people like them. But that's the world around us. That is the world around us. Politics are everything. So the NBA isn't solely meritocracy. I feel like Stephen A. is very disingenuous when it comes to this. But at points in time, outside of the fatherhood points, when LeBron is out here saying like, yeah, well, I got to stick up for the other players, I don't think that's what that was about with Stephen A. LeBron does have a history of sticking up for the league or sticking up for things that he's cares about. But I don't think LeBron gonna run up on Stephen A. over, the mellow ball. I don't think that's gonna happen. Not during the game. So I want to shout out this one article I think is very interesting, actually. This article here, this is from Hot New Hip Hop, right? And this is Alex Cole. Alex Cole is the editor-in-chief of Hot New Hip Hop. And I thought this was a very interesting editorial here. He says, Stephen A's beef with LeBron James is his final step to becoming a right-wing grifter. Right-wing grifter. Now, you saw LeBron say, he's going to be so happy to talk about this or whatever. And I mentioned earlier how Stephen A has been moving in right-wing circles. Now, whether he feels he agrees with them or doesn't agree with them or whatever, the right-wing grift is a thing, right? You don't have to be right-wing to be a grifter, but there is more money that's funneled into right-wing media outlets. That's just a fact. And there's a lot of people who make that switch just because it's very easy to get an audience for that type of conversation, that type of content. But Alex makes an interesting thesis as to why Stephen A keeps on engaging in this in the ways that he is, in the style that he is, right? So here's what he says. Yesterday, LeBron James appeared on the Pat McAfee show. This was a calculated move given the fact that there had been rumors of a beef between McAfee and Smith. During the show, LeBron called out Smith for going on a media tour following their confrontation. It was tongue-in-cheek, but also incredibly instigative. Smith took the bait and has been all over the airwaves slandering LeBron into oblivion. From bloviations about Kobe Bryant's funeral to Dwayne Wade's Hall of Fame induction, Smith was livid. Not to mention, a lot of these declarations were flat-out lies, which is yet another tactic typically used by political grifters. Dare we say it, Smith's response to LeBron's beef has been inherently Trumpian in nature, a temper tantrum of epic proportions. While sports fans see right through it, there is one demographic that loves this stuff. They foam at the mouth for it. At this very moment, Smith is a hero of Fox News watching boomers, and perhaps Gen Z too, the way the election played out. The right-wing media class and, well, the type of racists who say things like shut up and dribble. It won't take much convincing to make you understand why beefing with LeBron would make Stephen A. Smith a hero of the right wing. After all, LeBron endorsed Hillary Clinton, Joe Biden, and Kamala Harris for the office of President of the United States. In between these endorsements, he has been very critical of President Trump and has not taken his foot off of the gas. Moreover, he was one of many to kneel during the anthem while playing in the Orlando NBA bubble. If it weren't for LeBron's leadership, we wouldn't have had the Black Lives Matter messaging on the NBA courts during that time. The political messages on the back of players' jerseys also wouldn't have been possible without James. All of these factors have made LeBron a target of people like Laura Ingraham, who famously told him to shut up and dribble. The racial implications in a statement like that are quite clear. Of course, the right's hatred for LeBron goes well beyond just Fox News. The president himself has made numerous bizarre statements about James over the years, while publications like Outkick were created to pander to right-wing sports fans who had a bone to pick with outspoken athletes like LeBron. While Stephen A. Smith is not criticizing LeBron's political viewpoints, he is still positioning himself as some sort of adversary to James. He has gone after the superstar's parenting, something that goes well beyond the basketball court. Even Skip Bayless, a day one LeBron hater, wouldn't stoop this low. Instead, Smith's obsession with LeBron has reached fanatical levels. It has become spectacle over substance. What makes this so insidious is Smith knows he's wrong, but that is part of the grift. At the end of the day, Stephen A. wants one thing: views. More views equals more fame equals more money. LeBron is a target that nets him all of the above, and it makes him that much more beloved by the Ingrams, O'Reillys, and Hannitys of the world. It's no coincidence that Smith's new fascination with the right also aligns with his newfound distaste for LeBron. Very interesting. I mean, I'll put the link to the full article. There's more that comes after this. It explains what a grifter is. A grifter can be anything. It doesn't have to necessarily be right wing only or left wing only. whatever it is, right? But Alex is making an argument in this piece that Stephen A has been taking aim at LeBron and Bronny because of this broader shift he's been making into politics and into right-wing media conversations. And who is better to, who is more galvanizing when it comes to an audience, who is more hated from a sports standpoint on that side of the conversation, on that side of the political aisle, than LeBron James? Because ultimately, who else is bigger than LeBron James that takes those type of positions? I didn't necessarily think about all of that in the same context. I think it's a very interesting argument. I'd love to hear what you guys think about this. Do you think that there's more strategy from Stephen A's part in terms of how he continues, at least we've seen here for 3 weeks, been talking about this in one fashion or another? Do you honestly think that Stephen A believes the things that he's saying about LeBron? Or do you think that this is all, just a shrewd media positioning? Let me know in the comment section what you think about all of this. I think that there's a lot going on with this story. And I again, from a media standpoint, it's very compelling. From a sports standpoint, we've never been here before. Never been here before. And perhaps this is just what comes with being the most powerful person in the NBA, or the most powerful player in the NBA, and finagling your son's way onto an NBA franchise. My name is Justin Hunt. Like and subscribe to the channel. Follow at The Company Man on everything. Follow the Justin Hunt podcast wherever you listen to podcasts. Feel free to clip any of this, put it wherever you want to. It's all happening.
Justin Hunt is here, it's all happening. Justin Hunt is here, it's all happening. The mathematical breakdown of this mighty game of rap we in. It's boom happening. Systematical culture views us radical, it's all happening. Shaking hands and dapping it. Life through the lens of hip hop, from trip hop to yes, y'all, you don't stop, you don't stop. Justin Hunt is here, it's all happening. It's all happening, yes, it's all happening. Justin Hunt is here, it's all happening. It's all happening, yes, it's all